Welcome to Inside Marketing with Market Surge, your front row seat to the boldest ideas and smartest strategies in the marketing game. Your host is Reed Hansen, Chief Growth Officer at Market Surge.
Hello and welcome back to Inside Marketing with Market Surge. Today's guest is someone helping marketers navigate one of the biggest shifts in digital discovery since the birth of Google. Leah Nurik is the founder and CEO of Brandi AI, a platform focused on AI visibility and Generative Engine Optimization, or GEO, helping brands understand how they appear inside AI-generated answers from tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, and other generative search engines. Before launching Brandi, Leah built an incredible career at the intersection of technology, PR, and growth marketing, founding Gabriel Marketing Group, an award-winning agency. And earlier in her career, she led go-to-market strategy for Motorola's enterprise device business and helped scale their field mobility applications unit from 25 million to 250 million in revenue in under 5 years. With over 25 years in B2B tech marketing, PR, and SaaS growth, Leah has seen multiple waves of marketing disruption. We're really excited to hear from you. Thanks for joining the show, Leah.
Yeah, thanks. That was quite the introduction. Thanks for having me, Reed.
You bet. Well, I find it really pays to just start on a good note, and I like tremendous experience and we're all feeling good and we're going to have a great conversation. So
Sounds good.
So at what point did you realize that AI was going to disrupt the online visibility part of the marketing process? What caught your eye and made you think that was a real opportunity or threat?
So before I founded, you mentioned before I co-founded Brandi, I ran an agency for 14 years. And so probably about a year and a half, 2 years ago, we started getting questions in the sales cycle from some of our savvy prospects about, okay, if I do this, if I hire you for PR or for digital or content optimization and that kind of thing, how is this actually going to impact the way I come back in AI search? And I was like, literally, I don't know. Better figure it out. So we started trying to figure it out. And I think we started cracking the code and we're like, and started to just see that it wasn't about trying to trick the AI or trying to get the AI to do something that it didn't want to do, but it actually fit so much into our philosophy and my personal philosophy around marketing, around really telling authentic, credible stories and producing really meaningful content that really connected with the pain points of users and really being aligning with product companies and services companies that were mission driven. And so I just started to realize that if you could tell those authentic and credible stories and really come at it from a place of authenticity, you would win the rush you'd win the game against your competitors in coming up in AI search. And so that's how it started. And then we made the product.
Awesome. Well, we've got all levels of technical expertise among our audience. So maybe for those that aren't super familiar or immersed in this world, what would you say exactly is generative engine optimization and how does it differ fundamentally from traditional SEO?
Okay. Yeah. So generative engine optimization are the actions that you can take as well as the process of measuring and monitoring how your brand, whether it's a personal brand or a product, actually shows up and is represented within generative AI search results. So that's fundamentally what it is. So how do I measure, monitor it? And then what actions do I take through either optimization or targeting in order to improve how often that I come back in those recommendations or those answers, as well as how do I influence the answer through my own activities. So that's how I would define generative engine optimization. And so how I would say it's different than traditional SEO, where it just fundamentally SEO or traditional search was really focused on showing up as one of those top 10 blue links and requiring a click. Now the searcher gets that response and potentially has your product or recommendation in the response.
Okay. So now given that, and obviously we know that AI is becoming a bigger and bigger part of our lives. It's more, we're seeing it more places, we're using it more often. Do you think that we are starting to see the end of traditional search engines and the traditional search engine approach, the blue links you referred to, or do you think they will continue to coexist?
So that's the $1 million question, but I think I would parse it up a little bit, and then I'd love to hear what you think about it too. So if you take the search results, the algorithms have changed. So they're not about matching to words. They're about deciphering intent of the searcher. So that's fundamentally a major shift. So even if you have a blue link that comes back, the blue link is not driven by keyword matching. It's by the LLM or the algorithm trying to decipher what it was that I wanted to find out. So that's fundamentally different. So even if I do have that blue link is coming up based upon different things than it came up that it was picked by years ago or even 18 months, 2 years ago. Okay. So that's one thing. So I think that's a huge shift. That being said, the things around that were so important around SEO in general that led the algorithm to be able to return you in the beginning, like technical SEO foundations, site speed, are you using your JavaScript? Do you have authority? Or do you have category alignment in your messaging? That kind of thing. Those things are so important and will continue to be, because if you can't be indexed or found, if you're not using the right structure of H1s or H2s or whatever, none of it matters for intent. So I think that they're the best bedfellows. I think that geo and writing and thinking about writing for and thinking about intent and question task alignment and like prompt citability, understanding how people search is different by providing more directional guidance versus it being keyword matching is crucial. And so it's an evolution. It's a very dramatic shift. And that is all true, but one doesn't make the other one obsolete. What do you think?
Well, of course, I'm a little sheepish. I feel like I'm not quite as well versed in this as you, but I would say just at a high level in the decades I've worked in tech, with like massive technology shifts, there's such a long tail of adoption or like disadoption of a big technology for a variety of reasons. Anecdotally, like enterprise tech users and like older generations still like, people I talk to don't want to touch AI. They're a little nervous around it. And so I think that if it is replaced, I think it's still a long, long way before it is. But I think that the AI intelligence is going to need to rely on some of the sophistication that SEO has in ranking. That's still very valuable data for them to process answers. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. But I mean, I want to hear from the experts.
Yeah, to your point though, right? So like, even if I don't adapt or I don't adopt ChatGPT or Perplexity, even if I go to Google today, the algorithms change. So when I get a response, 80% of the time, I'm going to get a Google AI overview. So my 80-plus-year-old father has spinal stenosis, and he was searching for the best sneakers for his spinal stenosis. And I was trying to just explain kind of what Brandi does and that kind of thing. And so I was juxtaposing the Google search environment with what I got from ChatGPT, and the answers and the recommendations were quite similar because it was trying to decipher what is my intent in searching for this. And so I was still getting an AI summary, which is motivated or driven or comes about because of a revised algorithm. Yeah, it's just, even if you don't want to use it, it's still there.
Yeah. Well, that's fair.
You can't escape.
Can't escape. Well, such a behemoth, and there's so much inertia on it. Hard to just completely swap out as fast as AI is moving. Now, you have a platform here, and I'd love to hear about it. What is your approach? And then I've got some follow-up questions. So maybe could you give us a little overview of what is Brandi AI and what it's used for?
Yeah, sure. So Brandi is what we call a generative engine optimization platform. Customers can take a look and see where it is that their brand is coming back and what answers not only if it's coming back, but why is it coming back? And then what different sources are influencing the answer. So it may be your website, your competitor's website, or earned media, customer review programs, anything, influencers, but it gives you that ability to see at a global level where it is that your brand appears and who's driving that, who and what is driving that mention. And then beyond that, there's two other components of the product. One is, how are you positioned? Are you positioned positively, negatively? How are you positioned against your competitors? Is there misinformation in there? Is it accurate? Is it not? So you can really see if you're being positioned the way you want to be positioned. And then the third component is a complete suite, very robust suite of optimization tools that enable you to optimize your web content as well as your third-party content, performance marketing pages, etc., anything you could possibly publish for being read, interpreted, and summarized, and then returned in an AI search engine. And then it allows you to track your progress over time. So giving you those little micro moments of delight where, as a marketer, you go out and you do something and you write this blog post and you try to target a specific buyer persona or prompt or whatever it is. And then you get to see when it comes back and start seeing that progress that you're making.
So is this tool primarily for enterprise users that have a massive volume, or can it be also effectively used by like small and medium-sized businesses that like have a local reach that they're trying to be found for home service near me type searches? What would you
It
say
can
to
be
that?
used. It can be used across the board. We have Fortune 500 companies that are using it at enterprise level for multiple different brands and different industry segments and multiple different languages across geographies that stretch across the globe. But then we also have users that have 3 logins or 2 logins that are monitoring 100 prompts across 2 AI models. So we really have the ability for any type of organization, and honestly, in any vertical, really any industry. So we have large pharma companies that are using the product, large makeup brands, and then we have smaller type SMBs that are really looking to focus like locally and geographically on a few geographies for beard grooming.
Sounds awesome. So what now in SEO, we're often trying to get to page 1, to the map pack, to the number 1 overall ranking. What is the equivalent of that in a GEO? Like where do you hit the success point for a certain kind of inquiry?
Yeah. So I would say that if you think about it like information discovery, what's the best hair clip for people with thin hair? Okay. That's a problem that the user has. It's not, hey, Clairol versus L'Oreal hair clips. So you look at that like the funnel or the search type progression, like the buyer journey. And the question is, we would have multiple KPIs, like how often do I come back in prompts that are information discovery? So how often am I recommended in there? And then how often is what I'm producing actually influencing the narrative of that conversation? I might have created this hair clip, and this hair clip has redefined what a hair clip is. It's made from sustainable materials. It never falls out. It doesn't crack. It's not hard to, maybe if I had arthritis or something, it's easy to open. So I've come up with what I believe to be the platonic form of the hair clip. Very disruptive and exciting. It could be that or new ERP software, very different, but similar concept. Right. So I want to be found in problem statements, like or questions that are looking to solve a problem. So I would say, how often is my company coming back and being recommended when somebody's asking this information discovery question in which they're trying to solve their problem? Then I may also say, how often is my website or my own or the marketing activities that I'm doing influencing that conversation to redefine the definition of what a hair clip is according to my view of the world. And then I might also look at what's my share of voice compared with competitors in AI search. So am I winning the conversation? Am I dominating it over my competitor? And then also, how is it that I'm positioned? Is it positive and negative? And then am I able to influence that?
Awesome. So now, given that, is there low hanging fruit? Say a company just, like, where do I start if I want to increase my AI visibility today? Like, maybe are there common things you're seeing over and over again that they're doing well in other areas of marketing, but just not ranking in AI search at all? What are some of those low hanging fruits that they could take advantage of?
Yeah, so earned media is huge. So earned media gets cited a ton in
Mm.
AI search results, but that can take time. Getting on your show or getting on the front page of the Wall Street Journal, right? It takes time. But earned media can really move the needle for GEO. The other thing is that if you have good SEO bones and you invested in traditional digital and you've got good domain authority and you have all those things, one of the things and core things you can do is start producing more content, but not crap, like not AI slop, real good, meaningful content. So Brandi is built on a very deep intelligence layer that actually identifies what people within your market are struggling with. What are their triggers, emotional triggers? Why do they buy? Why don't they buy? What are the most common complaints? And it does this through a sophisticated listening engine. And then what it does is it also recommends like what are the right types of content for you to produce, like whether it's blog or social posts. And because AI tends to like certain types of content. So if you follow the prescriptions within Brandi by producing your own content, your own owned content, then most likely you will start to see a big needle. But there are a couple of hacks. And when I say hacks, I don't mean any trickery. We're definitely not promoting any trickery. But one of the things you can do is you can put out press releases that tell your authentic, credible story, but it does it in a way that it goes out over the wire. For example, some of the wires tend to get picked up by AI very quickly. So if you structure a press release in the right way and you start doing like kind of non-traditional press releases, things that are more like trend oriented or point of views or things like that, and you put them out on the wire and you structure them in a very specific way, which you could use Brandi to do because Brandi does optimization of press releases, then you'll start to see the needle move very quickly. I ran a couple tests myself at our Brandi product or like as a test. And I saw that based upon the wire services that we were using, we saw that we started getting cited for some of those questions, like almost like within a day or two for those specific prompts. So that's a nice low hanging fruit thing that you can do, but it has to be optimized correctly with the right structure.
Okay, fantastic. Overall, what kinds of skills do marketers need to? I mean, are there different skills that marketers are going to need to emphasize in the next few years? Kind of based on your experience, going deep into GEO, would you say marketers need to emphasize something else? Need to retool? What do you think about that for the next few years?
Well, I think AI in general is just across the entire work environment is shifting things in the sense of the people who will do the best are the ones who can straddle multiple different roles. So if I even just take it out of marketing and let's keep it in marketing, product marketing. Okay. The product marketer who can, instead of trying to just say, put the button over here because this is important, goes to Lovable and can figure out how to talk to Lovable to mock up their dream of what they want the new product features to look like. That's not something product marketing used to do. Product marketing would focus on messaging. It would focus on trying to drive consensus with product management. But now they can walk into a product meeting and say, this is what I mean. And came from product marketing. So to me, that's just mind blowing. So when it comes to more traditional marketers, I think it's the same thing. The tactical digital strategist who now needs to think about, okay, content isn't just about putting the keyword in there 5 times. The content really has to connect with the user intent, the problems that person has. So now is that person straddling more of like the content studio that used to be in the organization? And the content strategist person who might have been focused on just on writing content solely, now is looking at, okay, now I might have to go across and start really looking at the impact of PR, not just approving the press releases or helping to restructure the press releases, but I need to really understand what earned media is. So I think it's really about, one of the things that's cool about generative engine optimization is that it brings together all of these different disciplines, and it allows a marketing leader and strategist to bring together everybody in one platform to see the impact. So we have users in our product marketing, content people, digital people, PR people, and then agencies that are logging into the same platform and utilizing it all for unique work functions underneath marketing. And that to me is great because it takes traditionally siloed disciplines, brings them together, and then gives like leadership the ability to report out of all of that and see the impact across. And we all know that when it comes to collaboration, 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. It's usually exponentially higher.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Leah, this is really great to hear your perspective. I think it's a frontier that excites and frightens, and it raises a lot of questions. And I appreciate all that you shared. If people would like to work with you, use Brandi, or who knows, even have you as a future podcast guest, where can you be found, or what links would you like to share?
Cool. Yeah, no, thanks, Reed. You can find us at mybrandi.ai, and you can find me on LinkedIn at Leah Gabriel Nurik, or you can navigate to me from our Brandi AI LinkedIn page.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Reed. I really appreciate it. Have a great day.
Want to stay ahead of what's actually working in marketing right now? Head over to marketsurge.io and see how we're helping businesses grow smarter, faster, and louder. That's marketsurge.io, because your next breakthrough shouldn't be a guess.